Also, I've been a SharePoint Server MVP for 6 years now. I'm speaking at conferences around the world, and I'm having several book chapters, white papers, and all those kind of things written. You can reach me by email or on my blog. You can see the URLs here on the screen right now. As I have mentioned, I am from Hungary, so this is why you can see HU, but don't worry, my blog and all my content is in English, so you don't have to learn Hungarian at all. So the agenda today is about enterprise content management. I'm going to define and describe information architecture first, and then we will overview how to organize and how to classify content in SharePoint and what the goal for it, why it is good, and why it is useful for the organization. And then I will introduce you some best practices and some practical tips and tricks for document sets, content types, content organizer rules, and manage metadata and manage navigation. So I'm going to describe them, I'm going to show them how they work, and also I'm going to share some real-world best practices about each. So first, let me define what information architecture is and how to work with it and how it relates to SharePoint. Information architecture, in my definition, is the science and art of organizing and labeling content, and the goal for it is supporting findability and usability. The content can be anything that we store on our computers and servers, so they are documents, websites, blog posts, database entries, entries in your HR system, in your SAP, FileNet, whatever. So everything, every piece of those content is important from information architecture. And the goal is to make findability, usability better. That means first the users have to find those content pieces. That means if you create something, the users have to find it, because if they cannot find it, they will either create it one more or even several more times, so you will have duplicated or multiplicated content, or the users won't use your content management system at all because they will think they cannot find anything, so it's useless. As soon as they found the content they are looking for or they need for their job, the usability is important too, so they have to identify the documents, they have to be able to use that as they want. So this is why we have to organize our content into a pretty good structure. This turning everything to SharePoint, it's much more than sites and document libraries and lists, and I will show you what options you have in your hands in case of SharePoint 2013. So basically, if I should summarize in one sentence what information architecture is all about, I would say the goal is to go from this to this. That means in this case we will have much better findability and much better usability. So we have to organize our documents, our blog posts, our database entries, our content. So what kind of options we do have in SharePoint? First of all, we have sites, site collections, and we have document libraries, lists, and folders. This is obvious. So if you know SharePoint, you can create your sites, you can create subsites, even subsites of those subsites. So you can create a site hierarchy, and each of those sites can create document libraries, lists, and folders inside. And also you can create a hierarchy of those folders. So obviously, similar to the file shares, you can have subfolders in your folders and sub-subfolders, etc., etc., and you can put your documents into those folders on each level. But we also do have content types. Content types are different types of content, and you can define the content types by the properties. For example, you can say, all right, a contract content type should have properties for the customer ID, project ID, payment, deadlines, milestones, etc., etc. So those are the properties of the content types. In case of document content types, you can also have a template for those content types. So for example, a contract can have various templates. For example, you can have an employee contract, you can have a subcontractor contract, or you can have some outsourcing contract, and at each of them we'll have different document template and different properties. Also on content types, you can define what kind of workflows will be available. So for example, an employee contract will have a different approval workflow than an outsourcing contract will have. The next thing, document set, is a kind of similar to folders, but at the same time it's different. So document set is something that you can organize your documents into. Your related documents will be stored in a common document set, and you can work with them together. So you can run a common workflow, for example, an approval on a document set instead of running it on the document one by one. I will talk about this in a bit more details later. We also do have manage metadata. That is in a different perspective of content management, because it's not content organizing hierarchy, so you don't put your document under the manage metadata as you put it under the folder or document library, but you can tag, you can classify your documents with manage metadata. And this also has findability. First, because you can search for it, and if you do have a consistent metadata tagging, that search will be easier. You can refine for it, etc., etc. Second, you can use this metadata for navigation. So you can give a new perspective, a new dimension to your navigation with manage metadata in SharePoint 2013. I will show you this too. We do have document ID. Document ID is a unique ID that can be assigned automatically to each document in SharePoint. And this ID won't change even if you move the document from one library to a different one. So this will be very useful because you can use this ID in your URLs. So if you send a URL to your colleagues, for example, hey, please review this and that document before I'm publishing it, you can use the document ID. So even if you have any workflow or content organizer rule that can move the document into a different library, your colleagues will find it by the document ID instead of the location. So it makes the findability easier again. Workflows and content organizer rules are also important from the perspective of content management and information architecture, because workflows can be used for tagging your documents, for example. You can change the document's properties, you can change the document permissions, or you can move the document into a different library if it's required. So it can help your information architecture too, as well as content organizer rules that are used for moving the document for the final location based on its properties. I will show you how it really works. And it's very important to mention that we do have security in SharePoint, of course. That means everyone will be able to see the documents or content pieces in SharePoint that he or she is permitted to. So if I don't have permission to a document, even if I go to the document library, even if I have permission to go to that document library, I won't see the document there. Or if I get the direct URL of this document from a colleague, for example, if I click on this URL, I will get an access denied, obviously. So everything is security trimmed. I won't be able to see anything. And it's true for search too. So if you search for something, you do not get results that you don't have permission to. So everything is security permitted. All right, let me show you document set. Document set is a component in SharePoint, and it was new in SharePoint 2010, and it has been improved for SharePoint 2013. Document sets are similar to folders, and they enable users to collaborate on related documents. That means, you do have contracts that might have different document pieces together, different documents that belong together, and you have to manage them together. So you create a document set for them. Or for example, if you do have a product documentation, this product documentation might have also different documents inside, because one is related to the product maintenance, the second is related to the product, the second one might be the product user manual, the third one might be a technical details, the technical description of the product, etc., etc. Each document is different, but they belong together, so you can store them and you can manage them as a product document set. And it's true that you don't have to create a new document library or site if you would like to use document sets, because document set is a special content type. So you can create it, you can assign it to your document libraries, and you can use them. So if you would like to create a product content type, a product document set, you can do this. If you would like to create a document set for projects, you can do this too. So it's really up to you how you use them. A document set defines the properties, again, of the document inside. So you can say, all right, this document set has a property product ID, for example, and you can say this product ID will be the product ID of every document inside this document set. Or you can say for example, this description is the description of the document set, but each document inside can have different descriptions. So you can have shared properties like product ID or customer or project ID, or everything that should be the same for each document inside the document set. Or you can have you can have properties that are not shared, for example, description. So each document can have a different description inside the document set. So I have just mentioned that document sets have been improved from SharePoint 2010 to SharePoint 2013, and let me show you the biggest improvement and the biggest difference, because it's important to understand it. So in SharePoint 2010, if you create a document library, obviously you can put your documents inside this library. You can create folders in this library, and also you can create a document sets in this library. Your folders can contain documents on each level, and also they can contain subfolders, and the subfolders can contain further subfolders, sub-subfolders, so you can have a folder hierarchy, and you can have documents in each folder on any level of this hierarchy. Of course, any folder can also contain document sets on each level of this hierarchy. And obviously, this document set can contain documents, and any document set can contain documents. But it is important to understand that document sets in SharePoint 2010 cannot contain folders or further document sets. In SharePoint 2010, document set is a flat structure. You cannot create any hierarchy inside the document set in SharePoint 2010. Even if you have hundreds of documents inside the document set, technically you can have it, but you cannot organize it into a hierarchy inside your document set. So once again, document set is flat in SharePoint 2010. The difference in SharePoint 2013 is that you can create folders in a document set and subfolders in these folders. So this is a big improvement, because inside your document set you can organize your documents into folders and subfolders. You still cannot create document sets under document sets, so it's important. But you have to understand that the document set is a different quality of the organizational unit. So inside the document set, you can create your folders and subfolders, and you can put your documents into any level of this folder hierarchy in SharePoint 2013. So once again, in 2010, document set is flat. It's not possible to create a folder hierarchy under, but in SharePoint 2013, you can have a folder hierarchy inside your document set. Content types. As I have mentioned, with content types, you can define what properties a type of document should have, what document template it should have and what workflows we can define. And also you can have your custom settings of a content type if you want. And the content types have a hierarchy as well. That means, for example, in this case, you can see that I do have a document content type here, and this document is an out-of-the-box content type. This is a child content type of the item in SharePoint, both in 2010 and 2013. And also you can create your own content types under this document. So you can, for example, you can have your marketing content types with the meaning, all right, these documents, these content types will be the documents for my marketing department. And under this marketing document content type, you can have your more specific content types, for example, the presentation, content type for decision makers, marketing document for developers, etc., etc. So, for example, if you create a new product, if you have some product in your company or a service of your company, you can create the marketing documentation of this service targeting different set of people, different groups, different audiences. So, and each of them might have different types of documents. So these could be different content types. And it is very important, there is one very important thing here. Each of those content types will have the properties and the template of its parent by default. So for example, if you create a presentation content type, by default it will have the properties and template and workflows and every settings of the marketing content type. Of course, you can overwrite it. So you can say a presentation should have a different template and it should have some additional properties. But by default, it has the the parent content types, properties, and template. And one more important thing here, you can change any of these content types. Even you can change the out-of-the-box SharePoint content types, for example, the document. So you can remove properties, you can add properties, you can change the default document template, adding, for example, the watermark of your company logo. You can add some heading or footer to every document, etc., etc. But be careful, because if you do this, you do not have any reference to the out-of-the-box content type anymore. That means you cannot roll back to the default, to the out-of-the-box content type. So instead of modifying this content type, it's not recommended at all. Just leave the out-of-the-box content type as they are and create your own content type right below the out-of-the-box content type. So for example, if we are talking about the document, if you would like to add your company logo to the header of every document, for example, or some watermark, just create your own document content type. I'm calling this document root here, and use this as a parent for everything. So with this, you can add the watermark, you can add a heading or footer or whatever you want, a custom property for every document you have. But you leave the out-of-the-box document content type as is. So you can roll back, you can go to it anytime you want. Okay, so never change the out-of-the-box content type, but use your own ones. This is a very, very important recommendation. I do have one more best practice for the content types. Imagine this use case. You do have, obviously, your organization do have contracts, some kind of contracts, any kind of contracts. And those contracts should be prepared or at least reviewed by the lawyers. And if you go for it without any planning, the use case is this. I do have a group of lawyers here. I call them template owners because they own the contract templates. So whenever a new type of contract has to be created, they have to do that. Or whenever a template, a contract template, has to get updated, they have to do this. So basically, the first scenario that the most organizations have is this. The lawyers create the contract templates in their own machines. They work locally in their laptops, PCs. And obviously, the site administrator is the one who can create the content types, the contract content types. So, for example, he or she can create a document library, assign the contracts to this document library, so the end users can create contracts into this document library by this template. But in this case, whenever the lawyers create a new template, they have to send it to the site administrator who can create the new content type and who can make it usable for the users, right? And this direction usually uses emails. So the documents are sent by emails usually, the templates. Next time, whenever this template has to get changed, the template owners, the lawyers, change this template on their machine here. Send the new template by email again on this way to the site administrator, and the site administrator has to get involved to update the template of the content type, right? So it might be a bit confusing because the lawyer, the template owners, works locally, and whenever they have any update, the site administrator has to get involved to update the content type. But if we change the information architecture just a little bit and make the lawyers, the template owners, working not locally but in a separate document library, I call this template library. So I create a new document library for the templates, for the contract templates. And I make the lawyers to work here instead of their local libraries. The result is that still obviously the site administrator is the one who can create the content types and who can create the end user libraries. But instead of uploading the templates into the content type definitions, he or she can use the URL of the document template coming from this document library. So whenever the lawyers change any template here, the URL remains the same, so the site administrator don't have to get involved for changing the template of the content type. So the lawyers can update the contract templates on the content type without involving the site administrators, and it makes it much easier and usually much faster. Of course, you can have any kind of approval workflow even here. So, for example, if a lawyer changes any contract template, someone has to approve it before it goes to live into the content types. So with this architecture, you can have much easier usability of document templates on content types, and everyone will be much happier because the usability of the system will get improved a lot. Content organizer rules are the next ones. They are property-based rules, and users don't need to know where to save the documents. So for example, if I upload a document to a central library in my SharePoint, and I can put some metadata on these documents, or if I make this metadata required, that means the users have to put this metadata to the documents in this library. So I upload my document into a central library, put my metadata into it, for example, location. I can put the location of this document library, and I can create a content organizer rules to organize this document based on the location. So I can say, all right, I do have a document library for documents belonging to Europe. I do have a different library for the documents belonging to Australia, and I do have a third one, everything that belongs to North America, for example. And obviously I can have even more if you want, but I think it's enough. So if someone uploads or creates a document that is tagged with Brisbane, for example, the content organizer rules will get fired, and this document will be moved to the document library Australia immediately and automatically based on the property. If I upload a different document and tag this with London, for example, obviously it will be moved to the document library Europe because London is in the United Kingdom and United Kingdom is in Europe. Or if I tag this document, a third document with New York, for example, it will be moved to the document library North America. Of course, you can have much more sophisticated content organizer rules, but these are the basics. So whenever someone uploads a document or creates a document based on the properties of this document and based on the rules that you created, those documents can be moved to a different location, so you can improve your information architecture with this one much better. Okay, so content organizer was the most important thing. They have the findability. of the documents again, because whenever you put a metadata based on this metadata, those documents can get organized. You can change how they will be organized. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to talk about today is managed navigation. So managed navigation is a new concept in SharePoint 2013. We do have managed metadata since 2010. And based on this managed metadata, obviously, you can tag your documents, you can classify your documents. So for example, this hierarchy is again my location term store. So I do have the continents on the top level, I do have countries under each, and I do have cities in each continent. There is a new concept in SharePoint 2013 where you can use this metadata for navigation. For example, if you create this managed navigation thing, this structure, you can have a site where this is used for navigation. So whenever someone comes to this site and clicks on Europe, he or she will get everything that belongs to Europe, regardless of the country or the city or the place inside Europe. So if something is tagged with London and the user clicks on Europe, he or she will get this content. And you can imagine, based on the full location hierarchy, the full term store hierarchy, the users will get everything. If they would like to filter much more and they just click on United Kingdom, obviously they will get everything related to United Kingdom. Or if they are interested in the documents belonging to London, they can click on it and that's it. What you have to have for it, you have to have obviously managed metadata term stores. You have to have SharePoint 2013, because I have told you this is a new concept in 2013. And also you have to have a working search solution. You have to deploy, you have to crawl the content, etc., because everything is search driven here. So whenever someone clicks on Europe, for example, the results, the items, the documents belonging to Europe will be displayed based on the search index. So search is very, very important here. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. We do have a poll, so if you go to the GoToMeeting panel, you can see some questions there. We would really appreciate if you answer that. And if you do have any questions for me regarding the content management, search, just let me know now. You can type it into the chat box of GoToMeeting and I will see that. And I'm more than happy to respond anything. Okay, the poll is open now, so you can see that now. If you do have, once again, if you do have any question, just please type into the chat box and I will see that I can answer that. Okay, if there is no question for now, I would like to thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate that. If you might have any question in the future, you know how to reach me, how to reach Always Up IT, so just don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much.